Hi, I'm Denise Ortiz of MindBodyHealing.biz. Thanks so much for joining us. As you know, at least once a month, I try to bring you information on anything that can help you through these crazy, tumultuous times. We bring in people that can help you with healing, with medical intuitives, essential oils, different ways of eating, different ways of thinking, different ways of getting through. Whatever it takes, we have to try our best to learn different ways, maybe alternative ways, to keep ourselves and our body in balance. The more we can do that, the more we can handle anything that life has to throw at us, whether it be something in your immediate life, in your neighborhood, or even in the world that we've got today. Keeping calm, cool, and collected is the best thing that we can do. And the best way that we can do it is to learn a lot more information on things like Akashic Records, for example, which we'll be talking about today. Now, I'll be bringing on Ginger Hendry, and her website is www.gingerhendry.com, and I will have all of her information at the end of this video, so you'll be able to get it from there. So Ginger is an animal communicator and an energy healer. She incorporates modalities for people and for animals, such as Reiki in integrated energy therapy, EFT, which is tapping, and just her intuitive gifts to help communicate with animals and also to help people. Now, the thing we're speaking about today is the Akashic Records. Now, some of you may have heard of it and maybe don't quite understand what it is. I was going to attempt to explain, but I think it's much better if we let Ginger do it. She will be able to give you what you need to know about the Akashic Records. So, Ginger, welcome to the show. And what can you tell us about the Akashic Records?
First, thank you very much for having me. I'm very happy to be here. And the Akashic Records are really one of my favorite, I'll say tools. But let me tell you what the Akashic Records are. The belief is the Akashic Records are, and this is the way I'll describe it, an energetic database of every single thought, movement, choice that a soul makes in its lifetime, in its many lifetimes. And so it's recorded. I think in ancient times, the Akashic Records may have been known as the Book of Life, that kind of a thing in different religions. But the belief at that time was that if you were a spiritual, let's say, I'm going to use the word monk, or a spiritual person or being, you had access to the Akashic Records. The belief today is that we are all divine human beings. And so we all have access to this information. Now, the strength of the information is that let's talk about me. Let's talk about me. Is that I can go into my own Akashic record, into that energetic database, and see what I might have done in past lives. So, meaning maybe I made a choice in a past life that wasn't in my soul's best interest. And so I might carry some of that energy into the next life or into many lives. And it may actually give me what I'll call a block or restriction in the way that I live my life, but you don't know that. It's innate, it's soul knowledge. So when we can access the Akashic Records, and typically if people maybe don't know how to do that themselves, we can talk about that in a minute, but there are practitioners that can go into your record. You need to give permission to do so and to ask questions. What's my life purpose? Why am I here? Or oftentimes people come when they're doing a reading with me, might be, I keep choosing, let's say, the same relationships, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship. I always have a problem. I don't know why this is happening. And if I go into the record, I might find that multiple times they've made decisions that weren't in their soul's best interest. Maybe they gave power in a situation to somebody else in that lifetime. But you don't know that coming into this. It's an ingrained, let's say, response or behavior based on what may have happened in a past life. So today it's so, I'll say, mainstream that you can learn how to do this. There's many people who teach it. I don't actually teach how to get into the records, but there are many people that do. And you can learn how to do that, to go in to figure out why is this happening? Or what can I do to improve? Or, I always sort of feel this way, but it's, let's say I'm carrying something like I don't feel good enough, which is common, right? But maybe there's nothing in this life. I look back at my childhood and I think I had a great childhood. Why would I be doing this? I might go into the records and find out why I'm feeling that way. So there's a lot of information and knowledge to be had to help us sort of unblock things or move restrictions or move energy or make decisions in a different way with more knowledge. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does. Because it's true, if you're just looking at this life, you don't know what has happened in previous lives that may have been brought over. So you're knocking your head against the wall saying, what am I doing wrong? What don't I know?
Right.
And it sounds like the Akashic Records, by accessing them, can help you get along so much better.
I think so. I think it's a deeper look into something or not into something, into your past to see, okay, that makes sense to me. That feels true. That rings true. There's a reading that I do that is called Soul Profile that I go in and I look and I'm in the Akashic Records. I ask the same questions of every single person that I do in this particular reading. And it's who are you at soul level? We all have gifts. We all have all of the divine gifts, but some of us, not some of us, all of us have maybe one or two that we could kind of lean more.
Mhm.
The way that I would describe that is almost like those are the glasses. That's the focus that I put in. So maybe if my soul comes from a place of divine love, and let's say yours comes from truth. I have divine love, you have truth, but these are like a strength, a gift that we have. And so let's say we have a situation where somebody betrays us. Let's say we have a very similar situation. If I'm coming from a place of love, I may be in a much better way or easier way for me to forgive because that's how my soul sees things. If I'm coming from truth, I might have a harder time if somebody wasn't honest with me. And so it's kind of knowing who you are, playing to your strengths, let's say. So who are you at soul level? And then we look at past lives. What past lives come up? Because when we're doing that reading, nothing comes up in a past life that your soul isn't ready to release now. If your soul isn't ready to release that particular block, let's say, or situation, it won't come up. And so I can tell sort of the surround, maybe you were this in a previous life and you had this situation arise and you made this particular decision in that situation, but it really wasn't in your soul's interest. You shortcut, let's say, or maybe you weren't, you did something that was iffy with somebody else and you felt guilty about that, so you may be carrying that from life to life without really knowing kind of like what's running the engine underneath. So it's
Hmm.
so interesting because sometimes I'll do a reading for somebody and I had a young woman I did a reading for and four lives came up, and so we went through the four lives on what the blocks were. And she said, and she was only probably in her mid to late 30s. And she said to me, I have repeated each one of these situations. Now, not the same exact, right? Times are different, but the energy, let's say, around the situation, she had already repeated. And so it was, to her, was mind blowing. I had somebody else that I did a reading for, and he had a really specific life. I mean, really much different life. And he said, I had that same thing happen, but he made a different choice in this life than he did the first time. So he did carry some of that memory from that situation. So it's fascinating. Now we don't get down to, well, was I a Catholic? Or was I this? Or what year was that? Or that kind of thing, because the intention is the lesson, the experience, not the specifics. I don't get down into the, let's say, minutia, because that's not what's important. I just want to help you figure out if you keep choosing, let's say, I make a lot of money. I've always made a lot of money. It comes easy, but it goes out the door. And then we can take a look and say, why? And I did have that situation with somebody, and one of the lives, they had taken a vow, like a literal vow, of sacrifice in it was a religious organization that I say organization, I don't know, remember exactly what it was, but it was in a religious setting. And so they had already always carried this, you know, I can't carry all this money with me. I need to sacrifice it. So it would just blow out the door. And so they were like, wow, I can't believe that. So the Akashic Records is something that I think enhances or can enhance anybody's life. You again can learn to do it yourself, or you can go to a practitioner. That's how I went to a practitioner first. Didn't know much about the Akashic Records. I was a friend of a friend, and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And I was blown away. And so I, am an animal communicator, and that's, where my heart is. I do a lot of that work, but I was lit up with the Akashic Records. So I kind of went off the path there, and I do offer those as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you have questions about anything I've already said, or
Yeah, well, one thing I think that a question that many people may have too is sometimes people think that there's just you're looking at a record and all of the records appear. Okay, here's all the lives and these are the ones I'm going to tell you about, but it's actually the universe is allowing you to see what's necessary at this time for them to receive. If I'm understanding that correctly?
exactly, it's your own soul saying, okay, we're ready to let this go. We're ready for you to see it for what it is. This is what you need to work on, or this will be helpful to work on.
Yeah, which makes sense, which makes sense. I had not an Akashic reading, but during an intuitive reading, someone said that my father and I made an agreement on the other side to come here and do this work, but that he backed out of the agreement when I was about 4 years old. And when I did ask my father in person, okay, what was it? Do you know what we were supposed to be doing? And he said, no, I know I've lived many years and I know I've got all this information, but I have no idea why. And first I thought he was holding back on me. He was like, no. And I asked him again. He goes, I really don't know. And I don't remember it. And that's when I realized, well, apparently I'm not supposed to know about this yet,
Yep.
or I haven't learned the lesson yet that I need to move forward. Once the lesson is learned, then maybe it will open to me, right? Is that
Right.
kind of the way it would work?
I think it does work that way. And I think that, my personal belief as we come into this life, I don't want to say to learn lessons because it feels like a chore, but to experience, the soul wants to experience things. So the souls, may come in, and maybe the focus in this particular life is to learn challenges, right? And
Mhm.
you come in, and your life has a lot of challenges, but it has the flip side. If you can get through the challenges, there's a high and a low. So say you come in, and you want to experience love. And you come in, and you're looking, I might be telling somebody this, and they're looking back and they're thinking, I lost my mother when I was 6, and I think there's a lot of loss. But when you look at that, you cannot experience love or loss without experiencing the flip side. So when you come in, when you're looking at that kind of, I want to experience this, you experience all of it, all the way around. And
Right.
so sometimes we don't make the right choice, or the best choice, I should say, for our life at that time.
That makes it. Yeah, I remember was it Super Soul Sunday that Oprah used to have on a lot years ago. And I remember her saying that she had asked God for courage, more courage. I want a lot of courage in this life. And a friend passed. And she's like, how could that happen? I asked for courage. He said, well, now you have the courage to actually go through this, better than before. So, yes, because sometimes we want things to go one way, but the universe or our soul is going to play it out as it needs to happen.
Yes,
Right.
I did have a reading with somebody who was experiencing somebody in their life that had an addiction issue, and it had been really hard. Anybody who's ever dealt on either side of addiction knows how hard that can be. And when we looked in the records, this person had experienced addiction in another life. And so the feeling was that I come in now experiencing, what that life did to my souls around me in that life. And now I have the opposite um, understanding. I have the understanding of what that drug addiction, or might have been alcohol addiction, I don't remember, but what that did to the souls that were around me.
Right. Okay. So yeah, because everything we do is interconnected. Now, in the Akashic Records, does it also show people that we were connected with back then and their effects or
Yes, you can ask that. And the belief is that, I mean, sort of the big belief is that we have a soul group. And a soul group isn't just the people that we come into this life with. I mean, we can have, I don't even know, hundreds, thousands. I really don't know how many. But we choose, okay, I'm going to come into this life with you. And I'm going to either experience this with you or help you, or in some cases, I think I could be the one that sets something off for you. Okay, so I'm not, let's say, necessarily a bad person, but I'm going to help you get through what you need to get through. And one of the biggest, I'll say, lessons or messages that come out of the Akashic Records is that when you come into this life, you are supposed to live it fully authentic and fully be yourself. It takes us a long time to learn. Some people don't learn that in a lifetime. But if we don't, then the people that we agreed to come in to this life with, I may not be, let's say you and I have a soul contract and we come into this life and I don't live up to my piece of it because I'm helping you with XYZ, but I don't do what I need to do for you to learn that. So I'm not partnered the way that I should be. Does that make sense?
right? So you're going to help me along.
It's going to help you along, but I can't because I maybe made a choice in a different direction.
Hmm.
So maybe you find somebody else who does that. Maybe you're not able to because of that. Again, those things I don't always know. But the point is that we really need to trust that we're on the right path. We need to be conscious of our choices. We need to come from a place of mindfulness, of love, and understand that and trust we are in this life because we chose to be here and we chose to have the experiences that are coming across for us. And it's not easy. I mean, it wasn't meant to be easy. All right, we're a divine being in a human experience. So
Hmm.
sometimes we do take many lives to sort of get through the same or get through whatever it is that we want to experience that we're not able to do in one lifetime.
Right. Or when you just feel like there's something that's, I know I should be doing something, I'm not sure what, I'm not sure how. This is
Yes,
the best way to find out is to access the Akashic Records.
yes,
And
exactly.
what would be the difference? Some may ask, being just getting an intuitive reading versus an Akashic Records reading or soul purpose
Well, the
reading.
Akashic Records, you're consciously going into the record. So I'm asking you for permission. I'm getting information from you so I can make sure that I am connected to you as the soul by who you are now. And I go in, there's generally, they call it like a pathway prayer, or there's a way to get into the records. And then there are guides in the records. So I'm looking for this record for this person. Do I have it? And I get guidance back from whoever is the guide that's working the records. And then I see what comes up for me in that maybe usually the person has already asked me the question, I'm stuck here, or I want to look at that or whatever. And then I can ask questions. Maybe the person said, I don't understand that. Can we get more info? Sometimes you don't get the info because maybe you're not meant to know at this time. So, but usually there is, enough feedback or enough information that really kind of opens things up for you. Like, okay, now, oh, that makes sense to me. So it's fascinating because when I say it's a tool that I know it sounds crazy, but we all have a lot of things that we can do. As you mentioned in your opening, there are all kinds of things that we can do to help us be better us in this life. We can do intuitive readings, we can do self-care, we can do creative expression, all of these things. And so it's one more layer of I'm going to work through this. I have something happening and I really want to take a look at it. I'm ready. I'm ready to work on this.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think I did not have a full reading, but many years ago, someone told me that they had, with my permission, yeah, had taken a look at my Akashic records, and they said, well, basically, it shows that you've fulfilled all the karma that you needed to do in this life. And I didn't know how they did that or how they were able to see that. Have you ever heard of that, or is it something
Well,
that you've worked with?
we have talked about karma, I think at great length, a different, in different times. And karma is not a lesson or not it's reciprocal. So it's what you give out, you get back, kind of a thing. It's not a punishment, I guess is what I want to say, because everybody says, oh, bad karma or whatever. But when you're putting out good karma, you get good karma back. So maybe if when that person read your record, maybe it was, okay, you've experienced what you've come to experience, but you're still actively helping people. You're still actively being of service, and other people need that. And so that, that can continue in that way, because there's all different
Right.
things we learn, right? We can connect with our guides, with angels. That integrated energy therapy that you were talking about, that I do, is working with angels and working with angel energy.
That's fascinating. Can you tell us a little bit about that too?
This is awesome. And it's IET is what it's called, and it's integrated energy therapy. And it's really working with the angels to move energy in a person's body or an animal's body. If something again is, I'll say, stuck, for lack of a better way, it might be physical, might be emotional, might be trauma, that kind of thing. And so you're working with guidance from an angel. You can ask for an angel to come in to the records with you. Can you help me? I mean, it's just there is so much out there that people have access to. We just don't know it. And so podcasts like this, people like you, people I hope like me, to be able to share, I'll again say tools, for lack of a better term, to help people be the best you that you can be. That's what you were meant to be. That's why you're here. You experience, love and relationships, and that comes with heartache and hardships, but it's all part of the ride. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I've heard so many places that they also refer to this as Earth School.
yes,
You
yeah,
know, that we sign up for this, that so many souls want to be here to experience all of these things, just the learning and experience, just like we would experience anything here on Earth. Like, I want to experience what it's like to climb a mountain. I want to experience what it's like to get up on stage and sing. You know, they're just experiences that we collect and grow and share and teach from.
absolutely. And every soul has its own path. And so, in the human experience, we have a tendency to look around. Oh, that person looks like they're farther ahead than me, or, or my child, or, there's a lot of judgment. And what I hear over and over, from being in the records and working with guides and all of this, and animals, is don't judge. It's a waste of energy. You're right where you're supposed to be. And when you feel like you're not, then you move forward. So there are certain times where you think, oh, I should be doing this, that, or the other thing. And then all of a sudden you get that burst of energy or the new direction. And you're like, thank God I waited until now, because I would have been like running uphill. Right. So it's really,
Yes, the timing is everything.
I mean, it's everything. It's giving yourself grace. I don't think many people come into this life looking to not be wonderful people to live their best life. It's just, did we take enough maybe with us? Take enough of our soul with us to make that happen, or are we open for that? We don't want to be victims, because the soul is powerful. We are all really powerful. And
Yeah.
tapping into the Akashic records or working in these different modalities, you can feel the power, you know. I have two.
Yeah.
I always have a choice. So,
Yeah. And like you say, it's tools that we can use. There are so many tools that people need to learn. People are afraid of these things because it's an unknown entity. And like you said, it's become more mainstream
right.
that people have actually heard of Akashic Records, where, 25 years ago, it's like, I'm sorry, what? There's a record of everything I've ever done or said in every lifetime. And
I know. People go, oh no. I don't want,
did you
yeah,
record that? No, no.
yes,
Oh my gosh, please. Can we erase that section?
that's
No, it's
right.
part of you. It's part of the experience. It's part of the trip. It's part of the
Yeah,
journey.
right.
And the
And
journey goes on many times because through many lifetimes, and there is no time, it's the only way that we can see and live through, but Einstein has told us, no, it does not exist. So it's the before and the present and the future. And Speaking of future, can you look into the future in any way, shape, or form with the Akashic Records?
Well, people believe that you can do that, but it really is not a prediction. And I just want to, anybody who's looking for a prediction, it's not anything I would ever do, because as soon as, let's say, I tell you where I feel like the energy is, and then you get a phone call from somebody and it changes everything for you, let's say. So whatever I felt 10 minutes ago is now no longer. So no, but you can kind of use it as a predictive tool in that if you're always, let's say, you're coming, let's say, coming from a place of love, and maybe you've made some errors in judgment, let's say in the past, but now in this life, you've sort of figured it out. So based on the fact that you have evolved in that, you may be more likely, let's say, to find love, to find that relationship or whatever. It's not really a prediction, but based on past history, let's say, is helpful to know where it may go. That makes sense.
Mhm. Yes, it does. It does. Because, like you said, if you're being shown by the guides that are there and showing the information that you need of what is blocking you, if the block is removed, who knows how far you'll go? Or maybe you'll say, I'll just go this far and I'll stop here, and you'll end up doing it in the next lifetime. But
Exactly, exactly.
it
And
unfolds as it needs to.
exactly. I lost a brother when I was 12. He was going to be 17 this week, and he was in a car accident. And I had, sort of gotten into the intuitive, not work at that point, but going to see different people and in my like late teens, 20s and onward. Anyway, long and short of it is when I was in my 40s, I had my family was together and we had a medium come in. And Jimmy came through. He had never come through in anything that I had done before. And he said, I know everybody was sad, but I want to tell you, I had no intention of coming into that life to live a whole life. I only wanted to come in to experience childhood. And that blew me away.
Interesting.
And I have since heard that. I've heard it a couple of times with animals as well. I know I was young, but I didn't come in for 15 years. I came in for a specific reason, for a specific amount of time. This is what I wanted to do. And this is the person I was, let's say, um, contracted with. And I did help that person in this way. That's all I wanted to experience. So when I say the soul has power, the soul has power, even though we as humans don't feel that all the time.
Yeah, because it can take us where we want to go, how we want to go, and when we want to go, because we have the choice.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's real free will.
Yep. And we don't know what anybody else will choose. So, when you're authentically yourself, maybe there is somebody that you are supposed to have a soul, or you do have a soul contract with that maybe they're not going to be able to fulfill or what they need from you or what they need to give to you or whatever, because they're not in a place. And that's okay too. I mean, they go on to do what they need to do. We go on to do what we need to do. But when I say to be authentic, I hope everybody feels comfortable enough to be yourself. And I know how hard that is because of all the judgment that's around, but that's what you were meant to be. Authentically 100% you. That's the joy.
Yeah, that certainly is. And that could be too, you know. Now see, as you say that, that could be one of the other reasons why my father may know and is not telling me. Because if he did tell me too early on, I may have stopped looking into things as deeply as I have looked into them and studied them. And, he may have seen it would have been a block if I just knew it and set back.
Right.
We,
Right.
we don't know until we've gone through the experience. So anything, any information that you get, even the lack of, could still be a gift to put you in the right direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The one thing that I know people sometimes struggle with, and I just alluded to earlier, is, if somebody comes into this life and they cause harm in some way, is that soul um evil or negative? And I don't know, because maybe they were meant to come in to show people the depth of that kind of, let's say, evilness that we have to stand up to, let's say. Or maybe the soul is damaged. I don't know. I know that everybody around that soul experiences what they need to experience. And where that soul goes and what happens afterwards, I don't know. But I sometimes struggle with that myself. you know.
Interesting. I've heard that as well too. I actually saw it in a movie years ago where it said, so if I came down as this evil person and I played out my part exactly as I was supposed to, am I damned for life because of it? Or did I do what I was supposed to do?
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't
Which
know.
is why we have to be, like you said, non-judgmental.
Yep,
We know what is right and wrong in our basic, heart of hearts, but we also have to understand when things are someone is doing something wrong, it may be for reasons that we don't even understand.
exactly. Exactly. But we are, when I say self-centered, I don't mean that in such a negative way, but that's how you're raised, you know? And that's why I think a lot of people don't use the tools and have the trust in the universe because they think, if I didn't see it with my own eyes, I didn't hear it, I didn't touch it, it's not real. And you're not going to tell me otherwise. And that always makes me feel bad. I mean, they'll get to the other side and realize that's not the case, but, isn't it nice to know that you have this support, this love and support from the other side around us all the time. So,
Yeah, yeah, it is.
yeah.
Well, just to wrap things up, is there anything that you'd like to leave everyone with?
Yes, I think if anybody is interested in the Akashic Records, maybe the first place that might be good to just look at is Gaia. And I think it's just
Oh, yes.
Gaia.com. Because I know they have all kinds of things, and I believe the Akashic Records is there. There is a book out, and I know she's done work here in my area. I'm in Massachusetts, Linda Howe, Howe. She has written a book that will teach people how to use the prayer to get into the records, which is awesome. And even Edgar Casey,
Oh, yes. Love Edgar Casey.
I love Edgar Casey, so take a look at that. Those are just things that can sort of like wet your whistle and say, okay, I have an interest. And if you have an interest, dip in. It doesn't harm anything. It doesn't, um, it enhances everything.
Yeah, people get, well, I don't know if I believe in that. Well, just read and get knowledge on it.
Right.
It's just knowledge is power.
I know. And I think sometimes when people go for a reading, they might be sitting like this. And then hopefully by the end, they're like, okay, either that, all right, maybe I'm not going to tell you this, but you hit on a couple of things. So that might be real to me. Or they're like, okay, I do believe in it. When I was learning animal communication, I had a friend who was very plain spoken. We were acquaintances, really. And so she asked me to did a reading on her elderly dog. And she ended up writing me a testimonial, which might still be on my site because it made me laugh. And I don't think I put the actual word she said, but she said, I never believed in this. I'll say baloney. That's not the word she used. But I know you and you're not a kook. And I said, I'm putting that on my website.
That's one heck of a testimonial.
So I guess if you can go into it with the same way, be open, just be open, to what's out there because it can help us. It can help us live a deeper life, deeper relationships, deeper trust with spirit. There is no downside at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much, Ginger. I really appreciate your coming on and telling everyone about this information. And anyone can go to your website and they can schedule or book an appointment with you
Yes,
for any of the wonderful things that you do. It's all listed there. Like I said, you've got the animal communication, the energy healing, the Reiki, and just go on there and see what she has available. And you could click on the link. And I think you even have a like an introduction.
I do. I have a 15-minute free reading for people who are not really sure what they might need and whether we're a good fit. So, for 15 minutes for free, let's chat. And if you think it's a good fit, that's great. If not, I can refer you. If there's a different place I think you might be better off, we can do that as well.
That's great. That's terrific. Well, again, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate your being here.
Well, thank you. This is great. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just know that so many people are going to start looking things up or they're going to start tapping on your stuff going, hi, tell me more about this. This sounds good.
Yeah.
And that's what my hope is because people just need to branch out and learn. And I think that it'll bring a lot of information to them that it's well needed. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching today, and I appreciate your being here. And again, my name is Denise Ortiz of mindbodyhealing.biz. And just continue to subscribe to the channel, look at my website, find the information that we have available. On my website, I also have a page with a lot of information on books and videos and even people that you can check on. Like Ginger mentioned, Gaia TV is a great place to start. It's the Netflix for anything spiritual. I mean, I'm just in love. There's so many things to get lost on in there. And just keep on learning as much as you can to help yourself get through these times that we're going through. Because if we all raise our spirit and raise our awareness and help each other through this, we can do anything together and we can have a much better and brighter future. Keep that vision in your mind and share it with everyone you know. And we can do so much better all together. So again, Denise Ortiz, thank you very much for joining me and have a wonderful day.